All right, what's up, you beautiful people? Today on this Warhammer 40K competitive battle report, we have the one, the only, the Necron Starshatter Arsenal versus the World Eaters Vessels of Wrath. So, if you're wondering how these two armies match up against each other, you're going to want to stick around because I'm going to be breaking down everything that went right and wrong in this battle report today, simply condensing this 3-hour game into 20 minutes, giving you roughly what worked, what didn't work, and simply passing that knowledge on to you. Because I really do believe if one of us gets better, then we all get better. Now, I would like to preface that, yes, Necrons and World Eaters are on the table today, but I will say that a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be covering throughout this video is going to apply really to any army that you play, because we're talking a lot in terms of macro strategy, that sort of thing. So if you're somebody that just got into the hobby coming into the holidays, or you've been playing for a little bit and you've been trying to, refine your game a little bit going into your local game store, this seriously might be the perfect video for you to watch and enjoy you hanging out and sticking around. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm based here in the U.S., so we are on layout 3 today, and we are playing Hidden Supplies. So Hidden Supplies, the objective markers, they split in the middle. Usually that split is determined by if the deployment zone is in no man's land or that corner. So if you see down here in the layout in Search and Destroy, split if that corner of your deployment zone is not in a corner. So they're going to split like so. And we're going against World Eaters today. And you guys love seeing World Eaters because particularly it's not the best matchup for us. And kind of how to deal with these rush armies, right? And I think a lot of newer players definitely struggle with this because it is hard to deal with it. You have to kind of use a lot of different strategies in terms of screening, move blocking, measuring threat ranges together to have an effective game plan to beat these type of armies. Now, going into the list, he's running Vessels of Wrath today, which he was kind of experimenting with and testing it out. So he's got a couple units of Jackals. He's running 3 Hellbrutes, which is pretty interesting. He had 2 Demon Princes. He had a couple units of 8-bound, a couple units of Exalted 8-bound with 1, I believe, Slaughterbound. No Forge Fiends, anything like that. And then he had 3 units of 2 Spawn. And that was pretty much the list. Now, my list is something you guys haven't seen on the channel yet, or I have not done a battle report on other than the tournament. And it's a list that I have been having a lot of fun with. And it is not running race or warriors. And the whole premise behind the list is essentially that you are running a Ghost Arc, which you're going to see right here. Yes, I had to paint another arc, so we have 4 arcs painted. I'd rather not talk about it. It's a sensitive topic, but we have a Ghost Arc now officially. So you have a Ghost Arc with Xeris, and you have 2 Psychomancers, Ophidians, 3 DDAs, the King, the Stalker, 2 units of Flayed Ones, and then we have a Locust Destroyer and Tomb Blades in reserve, and we have a Overlord that is hanging out right here. Okay. Really fun list. It blows stuff up. It does so much damage. It's crazy. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So let's flip over to the game and talk about what happened here. So going into the game, I'm essentially trying to make sure, like, okay, if he wants to come out turn 1, the way I deployed, I didn't really want to give his spawn any sort of juicy target. I would rather his spawn go into things that, at least in this matchup in particular, that they're probably not going to kill. So the Flayed Ones here line the wall. So, I mean, outside of this situation, like the spawn, yes, they can come over here. They're going to tag the Flayed Ones over here. But the Stalker can scout over this way, which is interesting to also deny like them being able to charge the Flayed Ones, or making it really awkward for him. So really the only thing that he can connect with is his Ghost Arc. We have the Scarabs behind because, again, I don't really want to lose them early. Or he could get the king, but he's not going to do that, right? So you're seeing how this is all laid out, where obviously very intentional of where he can connect first turn. And that's one of the biggest things that I can leave you guys with when you are playing a melee matchup is you always want to ask before the game, okay, what are your threat ranges like turn one, and making sure whatever you're putting most forward, that is what they're going to hit first. So as long as you're okay with them hitting that, you're like, hey, if he kills my flayed ones for 60 points with his spawn, and I know for sure like I can just kill him with the DDA that turn, like a lot of times you'll take that trade, okay? And the second biggest thing that you want to be aware of is when those spawn do hit and they kill the flayed ones, you need to make sure that there is nothing that the spawn can pile in and consolidate with next to tag. So with this DDA, a lot of newer players might have had it a little bit farther forward, but there's a world where if the spawn come up here, they charge, right? They kill the flayed ones, and he's like a 6-inch pile and consolidate because world eaters have that. He could just pile into this DDA, tag it, and then it creates awkward situations for me where now I got to send like this DDA over to attack it, and it just creates this whole mess, okay? So just want to highlight that to start, just like help you guys out, or just like a little for more beginner players. Different things that are going through my mind before the game even starts. But let's get into this here. So I'm gonna get first turn, which I was excited about. All the battle reports coming up, I actually go first in these games. And if you guys don't know already, going first is a little more tricky right now. I think throughout 10th edition, going second has always felt a little bit more strong. Where mentally, I think you kind of have to be in a headspace where you're playing like 8 to 10 points down. And I think when you think of it in that way, it's a little bit easier of things that you need to do first turn to really get the game going. And this is also why I really like this list, is because I am actually genuinely excited going first with this list. And I've been talking about it with some of our team members, and on OnlyCrons, we've been talking about it where if you look at your list and you're like, I don't know if I'm that excited going first with this list, then you need to change it. Like, I think that's my rule of thumb right now, where if I look at the list after everything and I'm like, all right, if I go first, am I actually excited to go first with this list? And if the answer is no, then there's probably some things that need to change, because at the end of the day, half your games are going to be going first, and you need to figure out a good game plan. I think it really is going to help just your overall play get a lot better, okay? So going into the first turn, this is essentially what it looks like, okay? So it's going to be pretty simple for me. We're going to get Bring It Down and Engage in all fronts. Now, I could have cycled Bring It Down for a CP in this case, but at the same time, there's still a lot of duds going into turn one. So I did elect to keep it and just have an extra CP going into round two. So going into turn one, we have a Psychomancer with the enhancement with -1 damage. So if you don't already know, within 6 inches of the Psychomancer during the command phase, he can nominate a unit within 6 inches to give -1 damage. So during the command phase, you're going to give -1 damage to the Ghost Ark, and you're just literally going to yeet it like a battering ram up towards the midfield. Now, you're probably wondering, Kyle, okay, this is going to go back to helping you guys out, some of the newer players. Why don't you just put the Ghost Ark? Why don't you just go over to your natural expansion? Like, you talk about that all the time. Like, you know, this is like your whole shtick. Like, what's going on here? Why don't you just put the Ghost Ark behind the wall? Okay. So the other thing with World Eaters and melee matches, but you need to think about their shooting lane. Like, think of their shooting lanes almost like charging lanes, right? So because their threat range is so long, that's usually how I think about it mentally, just to kind of simplify things in my mind, where I'm like, okay, this whole area here is just a giant just charging wall, right? So if I keep these lines up, and as soon as I put this Ghost Ark here where it was positioned, it makes it way more awkward for him to just like want to just yeet stuff up and, you know, interact with anything over here, right? It also gives me more flexibility to move the Ghost Ark back, and then also do some weird jank, which you're going to see later, where I could like react move it over this way. There's just so many different plays you can do with this combo. It's actually kind of crazy. So we're going to move up. and more or less stage. And this is what the first turn looks like. So we're basically advancing up the Stalker. We're coming out with the Flayed Ones. We move the DDA out. Everything is more or less just kind of stage up, ready to go. Okay, we indirect some regular 8-bound over here, and that was pretty much the turn. Now, I want to talk about the movement here and a couple things of why I did what I did. So, first up is the Exalted 8-bound, or 8-bound here. They can come out, and the biggest thing is that we're going to see is that potentially a newer player, you might have left the Flayed Ones back here. But again, on this channel, we talk so much about surface area, where the Stalker is lining the wall 1 inch. His 8-bound could come out. They could swing over, right? They could swing over and connect on this Stalker. And they actually, if they spike, they might actually kill the Stalker by themselves. But by me putting the Flayed Ones here, it gives me the flexibility where I basically force him to charge the Flayed Ones, trade the Flayed Ones for the 8-bound, and then the Stalker can heroic intervene if he does want to charge. And the Stalker might actually pick up that unit because they might be on the objective. They're going to be hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s to hit and wound because they're next to the Overlord. And then it's AP 1 flat 3 damage. So he's going to be just saving on 4-ups, and they just kill him on the nose. Very good profile into them, actually. So we stage up, pass it over to him, get 2 and engage on all fronts, cycle, bring it down, go over to him. Now, Dylan was kind of testing stuff out with his list, and he's like, man, this is just, the Ghost Arc is quite the puzzle to solve. And he's like, you know what, I'm going to just see how this works. Let's just see if we can maybe wrap it and commit like a lot of resources to it and a lot of pressure and just see what we can do here. Okay, so he moves up the spawn as expected. In his movement phase, he's committing all of these resources out. He's moving up the 8-bound right here. We got a Slaughterbound right there. And we got, you know, Exalted 8-bound with Slaughterbound right here. And then the Hellbrute right here. Okay. And this is what this list is designed to do. Okay. Especially when you're going first, is that general rule of thumb, I feel like a lot of times, depending on the mission, you want to be on two objectives in the midfield because you really, like, you have to get the game going. Like, if you play a little too slow, I think really in turn 1, I think it could be a very much a recipe for disaster. Does depend on the mission sometimes, I will say, but this is something like you need to get the tempo going. Okay, that is the biggest thing if you were going first. Like, you need to get the tempo going more or less like right now, and start getting resources out. So hopefully they don't have enough left at the end where they're just scoring 15 points. Okay. So he's going to move up. I let him know, of course. I'm like, yo, you know, don't shoot the Ghost Arc because then I can react move. And you're going to see here that he has the Ghost Arc wrapped spawn charge here, Exalted 8, or the regular 8-bound charge here. And this more or less played out here. So all of this is going to pop the Ghost Arc. We do heroic intervene with the Stalker down here. And then the spawn are going to connect with the Flayed Ones up at the top in the fight phase. And this is bottom of turn 1, okay? So he is going to kill the Ghost Arc, as you're going to see here. And then we are measuring, you're going to see here that basically where the Ghost Arc was, it was exactly 6 inches for an emergency disembark. And so if you don't know, if you're a newer player, if a transport is wrapped and the model cannot legally land somewhere because Xeris' base is so big, you have to do an emergency disembark. The good thing about it is that even if Xeris fails, he just takes a mortal wound and he already has a 4-up feel of pain. So in a weird way, he doesn't freaking care. He passed. And conveniently, he was able to just sit behind this wall with Lone Op still. Okay, so Ghost Arc is going to die. He's on this point. And the spawn, unfortunately, they do not actually kill the Flayed Ones. So the Flayed Ones are going to swing back here. The 8-bound over here do rinse the Flayed Ones, as you're going to see. And this is essentially the board state going into bottom of turn 1. So the Hellbrute almost kills Xeris. I feel like on average, I think it's like a coin flip, but I feel like on average, if a Hellbrute connects with Flayed Ones, I think he can, or Xeris, he can kill it. But we did roll Not as good on the invols, but rolled pretty damn well on the Feel No Pains. The Stalker cleans up the 8-bound, which was super good. And then the Flayed ones almost kill the spawn up at the top. So he's going to get a 4 on no prisoners, a 2 and engage on all fronts. He's going to pass it over to me. So I'm looking at this board state, top of turn 2. We get cleanse I get area denial and display of might. And I was already kind of thin on CP, and I was like, okay, I need at least 1 for a reroll on a DDA because, like, I definitely need to kill this stuff this turn. I can't afford just rolling, like, 2 1s on a DDA. And then I think I'm going to need, like, a CP for at least a flat 6 advance on something. So, and I was like, well, okay, as long as I kill all this stuff right here, I should be okay. I'm still going to get baby area denial because he has, if we look at the 6 inches here, he's going to have this one 8-bound right here that's going to be within 6 just to give me baby area denial. But I'm like, all right, I'm okay with that, at least for right now. I just need to make sure that I pick up these resources. So going into the turn, here comes the movement phase. So what we're going to do, this is why the Psychomancers are so good right now, is we're going to trigger Battle Shock tests. So I hand 2 Battle Shock tests to the Exalted 8-bound at -1. How the Psychomancers work, 18-inch range, don't need line of sight, nominate a unit at the end of any one of your phases, and you trigger Battle Shock test at -1. So then with the Slaughterbound in that unit, they go from Leadership 6 to Leadership 7. And if you take back-to-back Leadership 7 checks, usually like a 30% chance to pass. So it's pretty reliable. If you're Leadership 7 and go to Leadership 8, it's like a close to 90% chance to fail. Okay, so he does fail. Now, what does that do? Well, if you don't already know, you're a newer player, if you're Battle Shocked, you cannot Blood Search. So it is very good. So it gives me full agency to basically just shoot that unit. And I don't really have to worry about them going anywhere, which is the biggest thing. So we do end up Battle Shocking that unit, and we give -1 damage to this DDA right here. Okay. Now, how this list plays is essentially, as you're seeing here, the Ghost Arc goes up. They have to commit, and then you come out with another wave, essentially, and with another arc with -1 damage, because this arc needs to obviously shoot at whatever's there, right? And pick up those resources. So we're gonna move up. I had Dylan. He rolled me an advance, and of course he rolled a 6 on the advance. I'm like, thank you so much. So you have 1 DDA that's gonna line this firing line right here, 1 inch, to be able to react move. You have this DDA firing here. And then this DDA is not going to move because then it's going to be hitting on 2s with devs at any target. And so you're lining up the firing lines. And then you're seeing here with the king, same idea. Minears see over the wall. He's wholly within the footprint. And you're seeing how we're lining up these firing angles. And then over here, the Stalker, I'm okay. And the Lord over here just kind of hang out for 1 more turn. I couldn't advance him and get a line. I'd love to just shoot his. He's running the Tachyon arrow, okay? Guys, it's good. I'm telling you. It's freaking awesome. All right. The Tachyon, if you don't know, once per game, it's hitting on 2s, and he's got the reroll aura, and it's like AP 5, strength 16. So you're winning like anything in the game on 3s, and then you get an innate reroll. It's surprisingly really good, especially in a Marine meta right now where they don't have invols. It's actually great. So we're lining up all this on the center, and you're basically just going to see what happens here with this output. And that's pretty much the turn. Now, unfortunately, I did not want to. There was an option for me to charge with the king, but I didn't want to give him because he had something else. I didn't want to give him full agency just to also kill the king as well for area denial. It did involve points. In hindsight, maybe I should have just probably charged him because he has the king and the DDA to deal with, and I'm already kind of putting him in a threat overload situation. So, and I know I didn't advance the king, so he definitely still could have charged, but I just felt like I was like, that just doesn't seem like the best idea per se. But maybe maybe that would have been a better call, and then I at least would have gotten. But then it's like, because if I was getting 5 points for area denial, I think yeah, I do it. But 2 points, it was like, I'll just cycle it for a CP, and I guess call it good. So we cycle that. We get display of might for 4. We pass it over to him. So we're going into bottom of turn 2. Okay. So bottom of turn 2. He's going to shift up now his second wave of resources, and it's basically go time for him. So he is getting cleanse and establish locus. He doesn't really have enough resources left to get established locus. Actually, I totally forgot to mention. So back over here, unfortunately, he did leave a little pocket right here for the tomb blades to come in. So the tomb blades like crazy spiked. I rolled like a 6, 5, and a 5 for my shots with blast, and they killed the entire unit on the nose. And so I didn't even need to get on the objective. They just move over here and then just simply hang out and just force him to kind of commit resources over here if he wants to deal with it. So that's, if you're wondering why the tomb blades are up there, that's how they got up there on a strategic reserve drop in. So going into the turn, he's going to shift up resources. He's going to drop the predator right here. He's kind of in a tough spot because it's basically go time. He lost like pretty much, he lost like 5, like almost half of his army on that turn, unfortunately. And we picked up 2 Hellbrutes because the DDA picked up the Hellbrute here. He lost the Hellbrute here. He's down. Yeah, he's down 2 8-bound units with a Slaughterbound. He's down 2 Hellbrutes, 2 units of spawn, almost 3 units of spawn. So going into the turn, he's going to push up again, and he's going to charge into this DDA. He doesn't interact with the king, and he does pop this DDA, and he does try to YOLO 9 a charge on this DDA. Unfortunately, fails. I think he rolled like a 6 into an 8, so definitely kind of like a feels bad there, and the Demon Prince is unfortunately just sitting there. So going into my turn again, this is where the Psychomancers come up clutch. Like sometimes you don't need to deny primary. Maybe you just need to deny a Blood Search, right? So we're going to go into our turn, and essentially it's a similar story where he has to come out with a lot of resources to kill that DDA because they're just very thick. And now at this point, what we have left is 2 DDAs and the king, and if we can kill this turn, he doesn't have enough usually output left to deal with the board, and then you can kind of just, like, the game is pretty much over after that. Like, this is essentially how the list plays. So the DDAs are going to move up. We're just going to get firing lanes. You're going to see the king move over here. And the thing to worry about with the king is that in order to maximize his output, you always want to think about his damage, his shooting damage going into the stuff that you're not charging. So you always want to, like with the king, you want to shoot at those targets that are downfield, like something like here or here, and then charge in to the Exalted 8-bound right here, okay? Or the Demon Prince or something like that, right? So you really get the max value out of him, okay? So essentially what's going to happen is, we're going to shoot some stuff. So we got DDA going here or downfield. You can see we can cut this line like all the way down here. This DDA is going to go over here or at the Demon Prince, and then the king is going to shoot potentially. He's got options everywhere, right? So essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate these resources, this, and then the king charges here. Okay. And that is essentially what happens. So we charge in back here. So you'll see we eliminate the Hellbrute. We spike on some of the damage. So we end up actually we're able to battle shock the Demon Prince at the end of my command phase. So he is not able to Blood Search. Or it might have been the movement phase. I can't remember. So again, super clutch where the DDA is able to move up, fire, not worry about getting charged. And essentially all we do is we charge the king in. He comes in, tank shocks, and then cleans up the Exalted unit. And then we essentially called it here. This is like the bottom of turn or top of turn 3. And this is the board state. It's crazy. There's been, I can't tell you like how many games now, in quite a few matchups, like this is kind of what the board state looks like at turn of 3, especially when I go first, because the way the game plan is, like they have to commit so much forward to deal with that, and you have so much just firing output and damage back that they usually, like by turn 3, it's just most of the time backbreaking, and they just don't have enough resources left to deal with the king, a DDA, a stalker, that sort of thing, and then they just sit on the objective, and they still have like Xeris right here, everything else. So this 89-33, the final, I mean, very not the easiest game for the World Eaters. I mean, if we go back here, I think the biggest thing was the layout is a little bit more open than usual, for sure. It's definitely not the most open board. I mean, if you take like 7, 8 is the most dense, right? And then you have 8, or excuse me, 7. And then 4 and 6 are weirdly really bad for melee matchups as well, just because like that there's like such a big hole in the center where they have to go. So I feel like layout 1 is definitely the best. Like everybody knows, layout 1 is the most balanced. 2 is definitely the most open. 3 is kind of like, especially on Search and Destroy, is kind of, I feel like this happy medium where you still do have firing lanes down this way, right? But you do have a really nice staging point right here. So if you're able to have stuff that kind of respects these firing lanes and you keep them like your opponent kind of at the line of scrimmage where they're not wanting to go over and cut these angles, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Now, I would say that I was talking with him after the game, is obviously I think playing a little bit slower here. I don't think you need to commit like as much to, especially because he has bottom of turn scoring. Because if you give me more targets to shoot at, then as you're gonna see, like they just die. Where it's like the Ghost Arc is only OC3, right? So if you bring out like 1 unit of Exalted 8-bound, or you just bring out 1 Hellbrute, right? And you just deny it, and then it's like, okay, I just lose 1 Hellbrute, and then I only get like a 5 on primary because I didn't have anything on this objective, right? And then going into turn 2, like the only thing I can interact with, I mean, he could move like this Hellbrute over here, because I think there's like a weird like triangle that you can hide behind there. But it is a little difficult without any sort of like Forge Fiends, or like long range shooting they has to respect. But I know Forge Fiends, I don't know if they're like that great in Vessels of Wrath, but I think as far as resource trade would have been a little bit slower. I think probably it would have been a little bit of a closer game, but I think without the Zerkers, it seems a little bit more of a tougher matchup for the World Eaters. Definitely Zerkers are harder for us to deal with, like absolutely. But all in all, good game against Dylan as always. And if you stuck around this long, seriously, appreciate you watching, and hopefully we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.